The following production is rated S for satire. We are not professionals, nor are we clinically depressed. We do, however, suffer from long bouts of indecision and stagnation. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the
48th, I believe.
48th episode of Take That Depression. I'm Spencer. That's Kyler.
Hello.
Kyler, how you doing on this, the day of our 48th episode of Take That Depression?
I'm doing really, really great. So last week I kind of felt a little bit rough with all the pausing and stuff like that, so we just kind of like pre-wrote all this stuff, and we're going to talk about it now. And that's very exciting. But coming off of that, I'm feeling high. I think we have a lot of good stuff here. Some of it we'll be able to share, some of it we might not be able to share. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a great week at work this week, so I'm just loving the life. How was your week, and how are you today?
My week has been pretty good, and today wasn't a bad day. Mowed the lawn. It was hot. Hated that.
Yeah.
But just been enjoying the day off. Getting really excited to dive into this. As he said, we kind of like took a little time to write it up, so it's not just like you watching him type and me twiddling my thumbs kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited because, as you know, Kyler, we had some pretty good, I feel, back and forths.
Yes.
And that's getting me super excited to like start really sharing this with the world and start getting everything onto paper.
Yeah, this is the first time, for me at least, that the kind of story has felt solidified. Obviously not like in stone, but we have like, again, concrete scenes that we can start kind of like outlining, and like now we have an outline for the overall story of season 1, chapter 1, whatever you want to call it. And that's very cool. It's very exciting to be at this point right now.
It is. I think back to when we were recording in your old place together too, and just talking about like, all right, what kind of planet is this? What kind of, things like that. So it's fun to go from like that to like actual story beats where it's like, this is a good idea. We're gonna have to work this in there, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm super, super stoked to go over kind of what we have here, and I'm super stoked to expand it over the coming weeks and months. But that being said, I think we're going to take it really quick. We're going to go over everything that we had last week, and then we're going to get into all the things that we kind of have the second half of this page. Because again, we're to the one-page kind of story outline of the entire story of chapter 1 for us. So I'm going to read the first half of the page that we did last week. We're going to get into the second half of the page, and we're going to kind of explain why we made some of the choices we did, and just kind of talk about what it's about. And then we're going to get you out of here. But first and foremost, let me read what we covered last week, and then we'll get into the new stuff. So at the start, we're going to have normal back of the book preamble, the kind of explaining of just like a narrator, explaining what this world is, kind of a little bit of the bullet points to get the consumer up to speed, so they have like the base rules of the world. Normal back of the book preamble, it'll cut to a group of adventurers fighting a boss type monster. We don't know exactly what that is yet. They get absolutely splattered, and then you cut to the title screen. And then you cut to Maxis, our main character, and his crew cleaning up that group of adventurers that was fighting the boss type monster. All the like the blood and whatever was left after the fight. And then he and his group get back to the prison living quarters for that floor. And monsters break into the safe zone where the prison living quarters / the entrance to that floor is. And then you cut off into somewhere in the distance, and you see Garrick's, the leader of the combat company, watching all of that unfold. Just kind of watching it. That's weird. That doesn't happen. And then he sees Maxis put up his hands and stop the monster assault, kind of dead in its tracks. And then we cut to a guard pulling Maxis out of the living quarters, and they take an elevator of some kind or the stairs or whatever up to the ground level of the dungeon for a meeting in the warden's office. And then that whole scene kind of boils down to Garrick's trying to buy out the rest of his prison sentence or contract with the CRU. And then Maxis essentially being like, hey, I'm not going unless you bring my 2 people with me. And then Garrick's agrees to those terms. And then they go to the combat company headquarters, and Garrick's gives them the down low on like what exactly they're about to be doing, all that stuff, and then how everything works like outside, not in the CRU. And then they get sent on their first mission, and it goes sideways, and both of Maxis's friends die due to his closely held belief of pacifism. And then we know that, or his friends get killed by a masked figure, is what we know. And then that was all we covered last week. And then into this week, again, we're going to cut right into it. After that mission that went sideways, Maxis is going to return to the combat company defeated, and report to Garrick's. And then Garrick's is going to he's going to say take the weekend, like something to the effect like take the weekend, we're back to work on Monday. The reason we chose to do this is kind of like this is a caring moment for Garrick's, but not in any like meaningful like I care about you. It's so again, it's we're back to work on Monday is kind of, it won't be that. I don't think we're going to use Sunday through Monday or Monday through Sunday as the days of the week in this place, but that like the normal weekend off, like we're not open Saturday and Sunday, so maybe those are like training days. And this is Garrick's just kind of being like, hey, that sucks, but we have a job to do, so we're going to be back up on the horse.
This is life in a dungeon.
Yeah, exactly.
This happens every day. It's, you knew what you were getting into type stuff.
Yeah. But it is a moment of like showing that Garrick's isn't just a dick. He does kind of care a little bit when he can, but it's definitely business first. You can take your 2 days off of training, but you're back at it on Monday. Then you want to cover the next bit?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh. Are you talking right now?
No, sorry,
okay.
I'm trying to find the notes where the note starts.
okay.
Monday, introduce a runway, and they start.
Yeah.
All right, so after that, the team, or not the team, Maxis gets introduced to Fenwin, and they get sent on another mission. They get sent on more missions, and then they later get introduced to the other character, our third final character, Jackson, as the final member of the team. They kind of like get together, and that's like basically the replacements of his friends. Need the full team member thing going on there. As they start to get us
kind of why we did that is it didn't, for the like, again, behind the curtain, we didn't want it to look like, oh, we had these backups all along. Again, I think we had talked about it, and we think that it's like a Fenwin is kind of has been with the combat company for a little while, but as a whole, like whatever. And then Jackson, when they get introduced to Jackson, he's a fresh pickup. So it wasn't like we always had this planned, whatever. It was like, okay, now we're swerving. We have a 2-person team. They do some missions. And then when they pick up Jackson, then they'll have a 3-person team finally again. And then they'll get back out to it doing normal team type stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
As the team starts getting out, they start getting assigned more missions, and as they're going out and kind of exploring, they get drip fed like little bits of information that leads to like something kind of off in the dungeon, and they hear rumors of the Black Hand. We talked about it. That's definitely a placeholder name, so
don't get too attached to the Black Hand.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a gang that runs like the black market of the dungeon. They'll be doing whatever the shady businesses and the illegal activities do, killing, kidnapping, taking adventurers out of the dungeon, that kind of thing. So after they kind of get information and start like investigating a little bit and like hearing rumors, they're like, hey, something's kind of off about this. These guys are like involved, and the 3 kind of investigate a little bit. They report back to Garrick's and inform them like, hey, these guys are like, they have to be behind all these. Something strange is happening. And Garrick informs, or he basically tells them, hey, leave it alone. Drop this. Like, you're not investigators. That's not your job. You're bodyguards. That's,
Yep. And that, we'll focus up. That for us is like, that's the job. You're not here to ask questions. You're here for our clients. They send out a distress call or whatever. You get them home safely. Like it's like a kind of like a you don't think you do kind of a thing. And that's like just, it's easier when you don't get tied up, especially like as someone who's been in the city for a long time and knows kind of the ropes like Garrick's is, like, don't get tied up in black market stuff. Like, we're on the right side of the law, no reason to get on the wrong side of the law, no reason to look, whatever. Like, that's what we have police kind of force for, whatever that looks like with the church. It's a kind of a get back to work. We don't need you investigating. We need you defending. We need you evacuating. We need you doing those things.
And I think at that point too, Fenwin and Jackson kind of are like, hey, he's right. Maybe we shouldn't investigate that. That's not our job. Maybe probably like 2 different perspectives.
Yeah.
In their own.
Yep.
Way, but I think that kind of rubs Maxis the wrong way. I don't think he wants to let it go. He's like, there's something wrong here, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of it type deal. Yeah,
very much so. He's doesn't pass a smell test, the sniff test. Something smells off here. So he doesn't. There's no way that he lets it go. He definitely stays investigating, and as he does so, he finds. Big spoiler here. He finds ties of the overall thing getting tied back to the church. And then I think we talked about that at length when we were kind of doing the set in sand, set in stone stuff. We wanted the church to be a part of this. We wanted the church to kind of be the bad guys here. It's a fun play. I think it's kind of cliche, and I think it's a fun play to like these people that are supposed to be protecting you, helping you out, actually being the bad guys. And the full whatever is not known, but Maxis discovers ties back to the church, and then he goes to Garrick's by himself, and just is like, hey, I know you told us to leave this alone, but this goes deeper than we thought. And when that happens, then Garrick's pulls Maxis like into his office and it's like, hey, here's what's up. And then does a big lore drop with Maxis, of which that will probably be all we say about it right now. But
it could probably tie I think we've mentioned it. If we didn't, I mean, little spoiler, whatever. It'll probably tie into Garrix's backstory, like, you know, how he got his start, things like that. We know he's trying to like rebuild his thing and get this guild going, so it might look of like how he got his start, dungeon diving type stuff.
Yeah, and again, we know that he is a former guild leader that was disgraced, and he's now starting from the bottom and working his way up again. And again, I'm sure it will all tie into that as well. But that's kind of where we have. Again, we do have more.
I want to tell you so much more. There's so much more, and it's so good.
Yeah. Definitely, we're biased. We're 100% biased, and I'm not going to front and say that we're not. But as we were like working it out and like bouncing ideas back and forth off of each other, it was like Spencer had said, like goosebumps for both of us. It was like such. I think things that could really like come to life on a screen or on a page. Things that kind of evoke emotion in some way, in a meaningful way. And I'm very excited to get this to like a more solid state and be able to show and tell everybody, what those things are. But yeah, I think we need to keep a little bit behind the curtain. Otherwise, why would anybody consume the first chapter? Or first season, whatever. It's all laid out for you right here. So it's, again, if we're talking like a season of a show, what we're keeping is about the last episode and a half. If we're breaking it down into episodes, we've kind of been talking what that would look like, how we'd structure them. It's probably about the last episode and a half of what we're keeping from you guys. So it's a meaningful portion, but it's a meaningful plot that we don't want to just spoil right away. But yeah,
we are very excited for you to hear about it, and I'm excited to get it into scenes and start writing it down, getting copies out there for people to read. It's a ways out, but it's also coming up real fast. So.
Yeah, exactly. But that's our one page. So we just covered our whole one page. If you're following along with your own story, I think this was so far the most fun part of the process for me, because this is when you get to see the thing taking shape. You really get to get into the meat and potatoes of what's going on here. I had a lot of fun with this page. I didn't think I would, but I definitely did. What are your thoughts on this, Spencer? Did you have fun? Were you just kind of... What were your thoughts?
I was nervous at first, I would say, because again, it's very brief. So it's like we would be hatching something out in a small space, and I'm like, yeah, but what about this and this and this? And we're just like, calm down. You know, we'll get to that. This is just outline. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So then it's cool to see a lump of clay. Just a lump of clay, and now it's like kind of like shaped like something, and then as we progress, it's gonna be sculpted into something. So I'm excited for that to see, like you said, kind of have the overlay of what we're doing, and now it's like it's the meat and potatoes, and we're starting to form that. So I'm very excited. I did have fun with this.
Especially this, like the Maxis and Fenwin get sent on their first mission, blah blah blah. It's like we talked like 15 minutes about what that could look like, and it's like that's not what we need right now. What we need is they go on missions as just kind of like a plot point. So yeah, I'm excited to really get in here and start expanding this. I think next is a deeper dive on characters. I think it's like tell a story about them from their perspective. Which is kind of interesting. So yeah, I'm excited to get into that. But before we get into that, we do have a bit of not really news to cover, but what the next couple of weeks are going to look like. Because the next couple of weeks, we're going to stray from this, and then we're going to get right back to it. I'm just going to cover what episode 49 through episode 52 looks like. So you can tune out if you want to. We loved you. If you were here, if you want to go away, we'll see you next week, hopefully. And if you're staying along, awesome. First off, episode 49 and episode 51 are going to be a Kyler episode and a Spencer episode. We are going to just kind of take the reins, and as a fun little like last hurrah to this this podcast in its current iteration, we are just going to kind of do an episode of something that we want to do. Just something fun, something silly, whatever it is. Again, if you want to come along for those, awesome. If not, awesome. We'll see you back when we start doing story stuff again.
You've been with us for 3 different iterations of it, so now we're asking you just one more brief episode, 2 more episodes of a change, but back to the goal. This one's kind of for us to kind of celebrate, like, we're almost at 52 episodes. We've almost done this an entire year. Every week without missing an episode, we have done this. So
Sickness,
it's like
moving, job stuff, snow, getting snowed in this last winter, like me having to do that one solo episode, like we didn't miss an episode. And that's very cool. And I think that this is our chance to kind of celebrate that for us, and I don't want to miss out on that. Then episode 50 is going to be a retrospective. I think I have like 5 minutes maybe of bloopers from our first episodes. I'm gonna have to listen back through that and make sure it's all kosher. But like our first episodes, when we would kind of try and have a pseudo script, so there's flubs and things like that. One of our first episodes, again, we were trying to get down to like 30 minutes or something like that. I can't remember exactly how long the episode was, but the finished episode was, but we had 2.5 hours of recording for a 30-minute episode, give or take about 5 minutes, just because there was that many just flub ups. Like we would do a whole section and be like, I didn't like that. And that was definitely when we were very much more critical of ourselves. I think we've gotten better about that as time has gone on.
Even reading like just this bit in here, I was like trying to catch my bearings because my notes got a little jumbled. So I was like, what is this, the first episode all over again?
But so episode 50 is going to be a retrospective. Again, I think we're going to have about 5 minutes of bloopers. The first blooper, maybe. One of the early ones featuring one of my pets that has since passed away. So that's going to be a little bit bittersweet. But she wanted to be a part of the podcast, and I told her this is not a cat podcast. And now I kind of wish that I would have let her be a part of the episode. But that'll be in episode 50. Episode 52 is going to be a look forward. That is, we set out on this podcast with a goal of 52 episodes. That will be the episode that we hit 52 episodes. That will be our kind of celebration. Maybe we'll have a couple of drinks or something like that. Who knows? It might get crazy. It might not. But that's going to be our celebration, and then our look forward into what the next iteration of this is going to look like. We will still be here. We will still be covering Project CC content, but we'll cover exactly how that's going to change on episode 52. So again, if you're interested in either bloopers and a retrospective or the look forward, that'll be episodes 50 and 52. If you want to hang out with Spencer and I, just kind of being silly, you want to hang out with us for us, episodes 49 and 51. If you don't want to do any of that, come back on episode 53, which will definitely be in episode 53, and we'll be right back to making Project CC content, and that'll probably be the first big character deep dive, probably a Maxis story from Maxis's perspective, and we can't wait to share all that with you. And I'm very excited for what all of this means, and I'm very excited to do episodes 49 and 51 and get a little bit silly with it before getting right back to business. Anything else from you, Spencer, before I cut everybody loose?
I think you covered all of it. I'm excited, and again, as always, thank you guys so much for those of you who've followed us and supported us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Recently, it's such a low number. It doesn't sound like a lot, but the podcast on Spotify has 750 like downloads and listens, which again, small number, tiny number, 750 doesn't mean anything, but that's so much. And we cannot thank you guys enough. 750 people listening to an episode, whatever. That's crazy. This was just kind of a thing that we started. We wanted to do a thing, but I didn't ever expect it to really do anything. But yeah, it's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun, and we got nobody to thank but you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us for so long. Why? Send us an email, comment somewhere, tell us what you like, what you'd like to see more of, what you'd like to see less of. We'd love to hear from you guys, always. But yeah, anything else, Spencer, at all?
No, I
All
think
right.
we give them our classic send off.
Yes. We love you guys. Thank you so much for watching to this point if you're still here. And as we always love to say, stay safe out there.
And don't get mugged.
If you are struggling, please, please, please reach out to someone or dial 988 to get connected with someone at the National Suicide Hotline. You do not have to go it alone.